All right, guys, Sam back with you here. This is a member's request for Zcash to Bitcoin. So it's looking interesting here. So we've had, this is, like much of what we've seen with alts, that, as Bitcoin has ripped the long drift lower. So it was very technical. You can see we had a lovely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, which potentially completes a one wave, but we've come down and taken out that low. So we have to start all over again. So we can't have a 1, 2. That being said, we're looking for a low here. So we can't discount this major algo pull here from that to that low. So front run on the 50, but look, we're come right to their target. So that's a point of note. So potentially you've got a pivot there, and of course you would do it again. So let me go to a 4-hour. And you can see here, if we pull from this pivot here, that's right. You can see what they did there. So you're right in. There's the 50. Here's that negative 23, the negative 100. Here's the larger degree, the negative 23. So now this potentially now we have a new trend starting, because we have a higher low and a higher high. So possibly we've got something to pay attention to here as a new trend, but we've got to recognize that this is going to be resistance coming back the other way. So the 50 and the 618, guaranteed that's going to be resistance that we'll need to get through if we're starting a new trend going higher. So let me pull this off. We know those are there, right? And you can see we're right in the Vegas wave. That's likely where we're going to see some resistance. So let's go all the way down. So you can look at it here. So potentially a 1, 2, and we're putting in a 3. Could be. Let's go to the 1 hour, get a look at it, see how technical this looks. So we can pretty easily spot this as a 1, 2, and maybe we're getting 3, 4, 5. Let me put that in a slightly higher degree. Let's go to minuet. That'll work. So if that's a, let's see here. That's a 1 A B C. So yeah, it's fairly technical here. So we could to give it the detail, the kind of subdivision that we'd like, we can come down here as an ABC. So measuring that, knowing that a 2 can go as deep as anywhere from the 50 to the 786. There's our 1 high, and note we come right down here and double bottom on the 786. So that all looks good. So it looks very reasonable to be projecting that as a 1, 2. Right now we are fighting the long-established downtrend, but if we're going to get a new trend going, this is just what we would expect to see. The double bottom down here is implying strength, as it's a failure to get to new lows. Thus, the 786, we often see a 2 there. Given the little ABC that we get here down for this double bottom, we get some subdivision into that. So, could it be a 3? Well, so we're already to and through the algo target, so let's measure it as potentially a third wave. We know it has to be at least 100% of the second. So if I pull there, so we're to and through 100%. So we have potentially a third setting up here. We'd want to put a pitchfork on it, of course, to see for any market geometry that could be helpful to us. And that's kind of interesting. So we're from here. Here's the the favorite trade right here. There's the corner pocket, 80% probability of getting to the median line. We get it. Now we're hovering around it. So we would want to see, ideally, this pivot holds relative to this fourth. Now it doesn't have to, because since we're starting out as a 1 wave, we have reasonable potential that we'd be putting in a diagonal, a leading diagonal, very common in a 1 wave as the trend is not firmly established. So we may have a 1, 2, 3. We'd be looking for the 4 relative to the entire move. So right now, no reason to assume until we take out the wave 1 high. We would just pull this here and note that if we're going to get the 50 on this, we will take that out. If that happens, then we'd pull from the absolute low to the 3 high. Take some of this off so we don't clutter up the chart. So if I'm going to take out this low here, or pardon me, this pivot here as a 1, 2, then I'm going to look for a relationship between the start of it to what is currently my 3 high. and look for a 4 potentially down here at the 50. That would line up nicely with the lower parallel to the median line. So that's a reasonable outcome that we would see here. But we're not there yet. Right now I can see good subdivision going up into this third, but anticipating that we'd get at least the 38. That's going to invalidate it as an impulse if we're going to get that deep, right? We're not there yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But if that is the case, and this could very well move higher and give it more room to retrace. We don't know that that's the swing high, but we're getting a reaction there. So we wait and see. What we really need is a good confirmation of the pivot high here for the third before we can start talking about getting long in the fourth. So right now, if you're looking to be a buyer, that's where I would look to get long, right? Anticipating that we've got a diagonal. And if that is a diagonal, right, as I put it in context, right, we know we have all that resistance to deal with on the way up. So, for the more conservative, you might wait to get confirmation that you've got a 5-wave structure and then wait for, so just for the sake of the exercise, so just so you see what I'm talking about. If we get a leading diagonal here, and we end up putting in a 5 here, just for the sake of the exercise. So if that were to be my diagonal, then I'm looking for a buy down here at that 50. Down in, well, anywhere from the 50 to the 618, because that would be on the larger degree, that would be my confirm that I've got potentially a new trend starting because I've got a 5-wave structure. Then I'd be looking for the 3-wave down at anywhere from the 50 to the 618 for my 2-wave. So if I put it on there, just again, I'm hypothesizing a potential roadmap. If I were to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's put it in a different color and take the degree up so you can see it. So if I go there, let's go to, we'll go to intermediate, so you get the idea. So if this were to top out here as my 5, well, then we'd have a completed 1 wave, and we'd be looking for the 2. So here you can see, so assuming that, again, this is an assumption that we put in a 5-wave structure here, the next play where you'd have more confidence that you're starting a new trend would be to look for the 2 on the larger degree. If you're bullish on Zcash and you're looking for the next opportunity to get long, to play into this potential diagonal, then there's your opportunity here on the 4th on the assumption that we've got a 3 in here. Right, so so far, it's trading technically. No reason to assume that won't continue. But right now, all we can do is kind of hypothesize a potential roadmap and see how it plays out. This is already 2 target, right? And we've already gone to the 23. So the reaction here doesn't surprise me. Now, if we can, very often you'll see hovering around the median line. It's Andrew's trading principle number 3. If we don't pivot right on the median line, we'll hover as a place of indecision while the market decides whether or not it's going to go and challenge the upper parallel or retrace back down to the lower parallel. So this indecision here, not terribly surprising since we're spread to Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks a little soft today. There's potential for this to kick a little higher because we can't, again, as I just said, we can't be definitive about that being the top here, of this being our 3. We could very easily keep going here, and then we have higher probability that we reduce the scenario for the diagonal and end up more likely with an impulsive structure that, again, gives us more confidence that we've got a new trend underway and sets the roadmap up for us, for potentially an add down here or taking profit up here, wait for the retrace, then go again. So you've got a lot of options here as you're fighting to start the new trend, but we can't really call it a new trend because we got to get through the 50 and the 618 first. So that's always what you deal with here when you're trying to carve out a new trend. And there's been a lot of disappointing efforts to get a new trend started amongst the alts. So I know we love to get long and look for those opportunities, but you got to be very aware. I would at very least I'd have little hot boxes around these so that you know that those are likely resistance points on the way back up. That way, if you don't want to keep this on here, these are, or put them in a different color. Often as a resistance point, I'll put them in red, just so I know I'm going to fight some resistance at that level. If I get through it, that just adds confirmation and makes the count more valid if I'm pushing through these, because now I get the algos on my side. So then they're going to buy the next 50. So that's what we'd hope to see. But resistance point, and we're trying to carve out a new trend here to get a 5-wave start on it. All right. Okay. That's we'll keep this one short. That's it for now.